correct me if I'm wrong, watu wanafaa, youth fund should be an alternative to the banks as far as youth and access to credit facilities is concerned.
Yes, you are right.
But watu wanasema the terms and conditions za mtu ndio ashike hiyo pesa, hata afadhali uende kwa bank.
I will put it this way. First of all, let me thank you for inviting me here.
Karibu sana.
And then I also want to say, coming here, I'm not doing you a favor. I'm doing my duty. Because one of my responsibilities is to disseminate information to Kenyan youth.
But you have a right to hide.
So thank you for giving me this.
Okay.
Sasa, you have asked a very good question.
Yes.
Kwamba, youth fund ni alternative, banks.
Okay.
That kuna conditions pale. Now, what we have done, we have structured our loan products.
Yes.
Hivi kwamba, depending on which loan you want, masharti ni tofauti. Kwa mfano, we understand that many youth, have no experience in business, are just starting out. Some even have never gone into a class where business is discussed. And so what we've done is that our loan products, for instance, we have several loan products. Kuna loan product ambayo we give to groups. Na hiyo group, you don't need to be many. You just need to be 5 people. Get formally registered. We start with 100,000. You begin a group project. Others begin table banking. That is, you put the money in a pool. I can borrow 20,000 to go and do something, and I return. Bora mnatulipa. Then, once you pay that 100,000, which we give you a grace period of 3 months, again we give you a whole year to pay, then that is 15 months. Then once you've finished paying, we double it. We can give you 200,000. Mukimaliza hiyo, we give you 400,000, and we give you up to 1 million shillings. That loan does not require any security. Nyinyi kama group ndio muna guarantee each other. Now, kuna loan nyingine ambayo inapewa mtu tayari yako kwa biashara. Huyu mtu ako na biashara kubwa. Somebody is asking for 3 million, 4 million, 5 million, na ako individual. Now, this loan from our experience is if you give somebody money without them having some responsibility, watu watatoroka. Tumeona watu wamekuja wamechukua pesa, mtu wako na green card kwa mfuko, amepotelea. So what do? Somebody has taken a loan, moved to another country, moved to another county, changed phones. So what do? And we must ensure that hii pesa is not taken advantage of na wakora. Kwa sababu kuna watu watakuja tu waone, hawaitishi chochote, wacha mimi nichukue na sitalipa na niishie. So then, wale watu wanakuja kuchukua pesa kubwa na huko individual. Kwa hao watu, we require you to give us some form of security. That will mean if you want us to lend you 2 million, for us to be sure you will come back to pay the money, give us something. But sisi tunajua vijana hawana hizi vitu, hawana logbook, hawana title deed. So we tell you to look for a guarantor. Mtu ambaye anakujua, maybe was your teacher in high school, mzazi, jirani, a relative, somebody who can trust you. And let me tell you, Daktari, if your father cannot trust you, if your neighbor cannot trust you, those are the people who know you. So I'll also find it difficult to trust you.
So youth fund is also about building relationship with your parents.
Yes, build relationship with your parents and your community. You see, in lending, kutoa mikopo, kuna kitu tunaita the 5 C's. Yes. I don't know how to explain all of them, but the first one I want to explain is character. How is your character? And your character is only known by those people who know you. So if somebody knows you're of good character, they'll be willing to give you a logbook, yes, give you a title deed. Waseme huyu kijana ya fulani mimi namjua, nimesimamia yeye achukue mkopo. Tunaelewana? Lakini kama mtu anakushuku, atasema sio mimi. Nimeona hata wazazi wamekuja wamesema, kijana yangu anasema nimsimamie loan. Huyu mimi namjua siwezi simamia yeye. Okay. But then of course we have a lot of young people who have good reputation, who are doing very well in business, who show they're in charge, they have good behavior, and they get guarantors even who are not even relatives because they're known in the community.
Sawa. Yes. So if you have someone who is trusted, akona character mzuri, na akona all the requirements, it's a guarantee that akikuja youth fund, he will get the money they are looking for. They will get the money they are looking for.
They will get the money they are looking for, but we don't just look at that guarantee, we also look at what is this that you want to do with the money.
Okay.
Because this is Youth Enterprise Development Fund, meaning ni ya kustawisha biashara za vijana. Kumaanisha kwamba ili tukupatie pesa ni lazima tuone ni kitu gani unataka kufanya, na pia tuangalie kama hiyo biashara yako inahitaji hicho kibunda chote. What I mean is, if you're selling eggs out here, out of this building, and in every day you are able to sell only 5 trays of eggs. Ile mayai tunauza moja moja. You're only able to sell 5 trays of eggs.
Yes.
So it means your capacity for that day is 5 trays. How much is a tray of eggs? 300 shillings. So how much money do you need? 1,500. So why would you ask for 100,000 to do that business? You see? So we do that loan appraisal. Because also, we don't want to give you more money than your business can be able to pay.
Uliniambia hiyo kitu
We
inaitwa
give you what,
overcapitalized?
yes, it's called overcapitalization. You put in more money than you require in a business. And that creates problems for the business. Because you'll take a loan of 100,000, which probably you're required to pay maybe 10,000 per month, but maybe your business is only generating 2,000 per month. Mkopo utalipa namna gani? Si biashara itaanguka.
Na basi grace period ya kungoja loan ni gani? Kwa sababu I understand that one of the qualifications is that you are supposed to be under 35 years.
Yes.
So mtu amekuja hapa wako 34 and a half years aka apply loan. Alafu anangoja itoke akiwa 36.
Sasa kwa
Amedisqualify na birthday yake.
Now, fortunately, what we do
Yes.
is that we don't look at your age at the time of processing. We look at the age at the time of applying for the loan.
So ikitoka ukiwa 40
Kama
uko
utakuwa
sawa.
35 years kesho na tumepata application yako leo na tumestamp received date ya leo,
Okay.
we'll still give you that loan hata kama umepitisha miaka na another 2-3 days.
So is that a loophole? Isn't that a loophole? Juu kuna watu loan yao inaweza chelewa ikuje kama retirement benefits.
Haiwezi kuchelewa kwa sababu kama ni hiyo group loan,
Yes.
It takes a maximum of 1 month.
A maximum of 1 month.
Maximum of 1 month. The only loan that will take long ni hiyo ambayo tunasema ya security, kama ni title deed. Kwa sababu hiyo loan inaendaga, hiyo title deed inaendaga kitu inaitwa charging.
Okay.
Kwa Ministry of Lands. And you see that we don't have control, it may take a little while.
Okay.
But all these other loans take a maximum of 1 month.
Sawa.
But I also needed to say something,
Yes.
kabla tujaendelea sana. Youth Enterprise Fund is not just about kutoa mikopo.
Okay.
We look at business wholesomely.
Okay.
So what do? We try and deal with all the challenges that affect young people that are in business. One is financing, and that's why we give loans. Another challenge young people face is skills. Some people don't have skills za kufanya biashara, so tunatoa mafunzo ya kibiashara. We train you. How do you identify a business idea? How do you manage your business? How do you keep records? How do you raise money for your business? How do you market your products and so on? Then the other thing we do is we give you market support. We link you up with other organizations and other institutions and other opportunities ambapo unaweza pata market for your product.
In fact, hapo ndio nilikuwa naenda because you do all that. How do you identify the people who qualify for hizo?
Now, those ones are services we provide for free. And what
Free?
we do, yes, we have officers across the country in every county.
So I'm assuming,
Yes. Yes.
hata before someone comes to get a loan at Youth Fund,
Yes.
all Kenyan youth have an opportunity
Yes.
ya kukuja to get trained by Youth Fund on how to do a business, how to keep records, how to invest na market support.
Yes, yes.
For free.
For free.
And then if someone goes through that and they apply for a loan at Youth Fund, this is a likely candidate kupata hiyo pesa.
Kabisa.
Then how comes watu hawana pesa?
For instance, I'll give you an example.
Yes.
The year that has ended in June
Yes.
this year,
Yes.
we have trained 82,000 young people across the country. And for those who have already experience in business and are coming to borrow, those ones we don't necessarily train them. Now this year, my target is to train 95,000 youth. And every day as we speak, even as we speak now, there are young people being trained somewhere in Mandera, young people being trained somewhere in Turkana, being trained somewhere in Kwale, somewhere in Korogosho, because we have officers across the country, and what they do is that they organize with this youth, so that we know it may be very expensive to train one person. So he'll organize with the youth that we'll have a session of training pale kwa chief tarehe fulani, and so people come and you train.
How does this information go across? As in, how is this information passed? Kwa sababu watu wengi najua wanasikia hii saa hii.
One, we have heavy presence on social media. That is one. Two is that our officers on the ground work with other stakeholders, pastors, priests, viongozi wa masheikhs, chiefs, and so on and so forth, people who interact with young people.
So kumbe that's the problem.
Yes, so that hata mkienda kanisani
That's the problem. That's the gap. Muko kwa kanisa, muko kwa msikiti.
Sasa ile challenge tuko naye, and I think I mentioned here before we started the show, is once you hear that information, ukisikia kuna training mahali fulani, how seriously do you take that? And I'm challenging all young people to be proactive. That when you hear there's an opportunity, hata watu wengine wakikuambia ni ngumu, inakaa, wewe mwenyewe nenda, ingia pale and hear it for yourself. You see? Because by so doing, then you know you are not influenced by what people are saying in the street. You're able to get the information yourself. And I asked a question to one young man here before we started the show. And I asked, how did you get your ID? Who told you how to get your ID? And if you ask everyone, they'll tell you that when I reached of age, I went to the chief's office and I asked how to get an ID. And probably many people had told you, usiende kutafuta kitambulisho, utaitishwa hongo, utafanya nini. But that did not dissuade you from going to get an ID. You went, ukauliza what and what do you need? So you went back to your parents, you assembled the documents you need, you came, kaambiwa you must be stamped by the chief, by the assistant chief, mtu ya kanisa. And see, we went through all that until we got the ID. So what I'm saying is, because this is a loan that you have to pay, you know, there are certain documentations we require from you so that we are able to trace you. And what also I am saying to our young people is that anytime there's an opportunity in front of you, at times there may be hurdles. Don't give up. Persistent is very important, because it is those hurdles that separate between the person who is serious and the person who is not serious.
Okay.
If it rains in the morning, do you say it is raining today, I will not go where I was going? So that rain separates a serious person from a person who is not serious.
Okay.
So we must really be focused on what we want to do.
I'm sure I have one opinion that employment cannot absorb every one of us.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So the next possible platform to absorb as many people as possible is entrepreneurship na mambo kama biashara and business.
Yes.
Then the challenge becomes if in 1 year, it's not a number you can ignore, 85,000, and you're targeting 90,000 in the next phase. That's not a small number, but it's a very small number based compared to the number of people who need such services. 90,000 to over 20 million people, kidogo pale ni kidogo. Why 90,000? What capacity does the youth fund need to be the go-to platform, before tukuje kwa history ya ID, to be the go-to platform where people can actually know that there are very good programs. If you train people, if you actually ingefanywa kama NYS, that ukimaliza high school, you could go through training ya youth fund ya biashara na ya record keeping. Why can't youth fund be as big as NYS? Kwa sababu that way we would have more results.
Now, one of the things is that we also look at institutional capacity. For instance, at the Youth Enterprise Fund, in every county I have 3 officers.
A whole county, 3
Yes,
officers?
We have 3 to 4 officers. Now, those officers, you see, they are following up on people who have taken loans. They are following up on people who need to take loans. They are training people, so their time is divided. So they may not have all the time to train, but they'll divide their time between going to train, going to follow up on applicants, going to follow up on people who are not paying loans that need to repay. So that is one challenge. Unfortunately also, government may not have resources to employ thousands and thousands of people, maybe for one agency. But these are negotiations we are having, and of course we are hopeful that we are going to get more resources so that we have more staff, and so that then we are able to increase our foothold on the ground.
Ukisema hivyo, my mind goes to ukisema place niligrow Embu kuna kitu inaitwa Gosumekia. You know what that is?
Gosumekia.
Basi Gosumekia ni ile ukifeed mtu inaweza kuwa on 2 levels. Ile ya unaenda kupea mtu food hivi alafu wewe unaisosi. I believe that will describe the good idea that youth fund is versus what it does. 3 people in a county yenye idea ni poa. I'm sure if you took 10 people wafanyie proper training, 10 people if you wapitie proper training ya biashara na hizo vitu unasema, and then they get empowered, wapatiwe do ya kufanya hizo vitu wamefundishwa, we'll be talking a different conversation as far as unemployment is concerned. Then multiply, let's say a success rate, ikiwafanywa poa sana, 7 out of the 10 people pick something from that. Now multiply that in a population of 1 million. Now we'll believe that 1 million jobs can be created.
Okay, maybe first of all nikwambie, sisi tuna focus na youth who are 18 to 35 years. Now those youth who are 18 to 35 years are 13.8 million in this country.
Yes.
Now, some of them are in college.
Okay.
Others in universities, others tertiary institutions, others are employed. Like yourself, you probably are 32 or 30 or 28, but you see you're employed. So what I'm saying is not the 13.8 million young people, it's not all of them that want to get into business. Then even all those who are not employed, it's not all of them that want to get into business. A lot of people want to get employed. And that's why you find people are employed, people get into jobs, they reach 60 years while they're still at the job. And every year, they keep saying, next year, I'm resigning to get into business.
Yes.
Because there's something about running a business. Running a business is a commitment. It's a personal sacrifice.
Okay.
It's a risk. And it's not everybody that wants to take a risk. It's not everybody that wants to commit themselves to that level. It's not everyone that wants to sacrifice to that extent. And so this is why we train the young people. So that then we begin to show you that these risks are tolerable. We show you that this commitment will pay eventually. Because many of us want a place tutaingia asubuhi, tufanye kazi ile tumepewa. By evening you go home, you know there's no risk you've taken.
Okay.
No, hakuna risk. Umetake risk ni ya mwenye amekuajiri.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we must get ourselves to begin taking risks. And so even when I was talking about the 90,000 that we are training, we disseminate information. That information about that training probably reaches about 300,000 young people.
Okay.
But it's only about 90,000 who will turn up for the training.
Okay.
Because it is them that are interested, it is them that are focused in business.
So I don't know whether this will challenge kitu umesema, but let me just say it. 13.8 million are Kenyans are between 18 to 35, right?
Yes.
Now, some of them are in college, which nowadays, based on the situation, is just delayed unemployment.
Okay.
As in, you are mark timing so that other people can look for jobs as you hope for other opportunities to come, based on how things are. But let's assume 9 million out of these people can be trained to business. Or let's say, to reduce further, 5 million of them. Because not everybody is meant for business. Not everybody is cut out for business. But out of 5 million people, if you train people properly, your employment is a business.
Yes.
Nation Media Group that has employed me is a business.
Yes, it's a business.
So our mtu akikuwa empowered, inaweza kuwa wale watakuwa courageous enough to do business can be a source of employment kwa wale watu wanaogopa kutake risk. Right?
Yes.
So one way or another, empowering people kwa biashara is a plus in terms of employment. Once you set up your biashara yako kidogo, you employ 1 or 2 people. In fact, if you can train 1 million people, now each of these 1 million people, an average, wakuwe poa, out of the 13 million, just 1 million. Kila mmoja akuwa anaweza employ 3 people on average.
Yes.
Biashara ya kuemploy 3 people. That's 4 million jobs plus the employer.
Yes.
Is that too ambitious to think?
What I'm saying is we will train the 1 million people.
Okay.
But we may not be able to train them, all of them in 1 year.
But the government has capacity to support Youth Fund
Yes.
to the level of training 1 million people to create jobs for the cowards.
Yes. No, not cowards. Don't call them cowards.
These
are good. Somebody's risk tolerance is low, but that person is not a coward. Some of them are very brave people. So don't call them
basi
cowards.
kizungu ndio inanitoa nje basi. Yes. Okay.
So that's what I was saying, that we have capacity to train that much. Then after the people that we train are the people who turn up, because you cannot train a person who has not turned up, and you cannot force people to come. Then the other thing is about business is that you cannot force somebody into business.
Okay.
Even your own brother now, you can't go and tell him, hey, take 50,000 and uanze biashara. So first of all, that person has to buy that idea. They have to understand what they want to do. They have to internalize. It must come out of them that they want to do business. Sijui kama umeaiona kijana amenunuliwa mathiri na baba yake, sio hata ni loan, kubaiwa hii matatu ni yako kutoka leo. After 3 months unaipata imewekelewa mawe. Sijui kama umeona picha kama hiyo.
Yes.
Now why does that happen? Because probably this person has not gone through what it takes to be a business person. This person probably lacks that commitment, lacks the skills and knowledge, lacks that ability to sacrifice. That I need to be awake a little bit more. I need to wake up early to go and check on my matatu. I need to go to the garage and see how my matatu is being repaired. You see, this is important. I can sacrifice one day nisimame kwa barabara nione matatu yangu imeenda trip ngapi. See, that is sacrifice. That is commitment. Okay. And that is what in business you require.
2 things.
Then the other thing also is it's very important to associate yourself with people who are in business, people who have succeeded, so that they mentor you. They handhold you. Anytime you have a challenge and you're in a business, irrespective of how big or how small the business is. Labda unauzanga mayai pale kwa mtaa. Maybe you sell sausages on a push cart. But if you went and found a millionaire who is in business, the lessons that person gives you will help you, whether you're pushing a push cart, whether you're operating a kiosk, whether you're running a bus. Business principles remain the same.
Okay. Sawa. 2 things utatuambia before we let you go. Access to information. Like, what are you doing to because when I posted that on Facebook, I hate the question in the comments here, what is Youth Fund, right? The way people would know about NHIF, I believe, is the same way people should know about the Youth Enterprise Fund.
Yes.
Hiyo ni kitu ya kwanza. What is not being done? Is it support from government? Is it implementation? And then there are complaints about people's experience wakikuja hapo. You have very good vibes. Mi nimecommit on a personal level, I agree, I vote, hiyo ni poa. But there are other people wenye wanaweza kuona kuko, I've given up people a different experience of what Youth Fund is and customer service. I'm a new recruit from KMTC, I don't know. But then, kuna access to information, kuna support, na hiyo the service ya vile people watu wanasaviwa, and it's very interesting for someone when you hold your position, you have understood the psychology of Kenyan youth. Unajua kuna mtu anaweza hata pata biashara but they have to buy the idea. Why can't Youth Fund have a branch that can tailor make products based on needs za watu? Like, we know very well. Biashara ikishika poa itasaidia kila mtu. Why can't we approach it from a solution perspective in terms of badala ya kusema biashara si ya kila mtu, how can we get people interested in business? Because if you empower the country on entrepreneurship, it's a win for everybody.
Okay, maybe to begin with, I'll start with the last question about tailoring products that meet everyone's expectations. The last 6 months, we've done a lot of research by asking questions to people who visited our offices, by asking questions to people who've taken our loans in terms of what their experience was. And we've been able to compile those experiences, and we currently are using those experiences to rework our loan products. In fact, some young people who are in employment have even come to us and told us that we also wouldn't mind getting a loan on the strength of our salary so that we start a business. And because we are full-time engaged in our jobs, we will employ another young person to take that business. Because our essence at the end of the day is to create employment. That's what we want to do. And so we are re-looking at our loan products. And we are hoping by the end of December this year, we will have very good news for young people out there who are looking to benefit to our products. We'll have a broader range of products. We'll have more flexible loan products. For instance, initially, when we started giving group loans, groups will come 20 people, 30, 40. You see, we were able to reduce that to 5 people only, because that's what young people said. So every day we are changing, we are dynamic, yes. We are listening to our clients, and we're trying to align to what they need. Okay. However, there's a limit beyond which you cannot go.
Yes.
Because if, for instance, somebody tells you I need 3 million and don't ask me for anything, then how do you hold that person responsible in the event that they decide they don't want to pay that loan?
Okay.
Where will you look for them? Because also you must be careful not to give the money to people who are intent on taking the money and disappearing. You must also be careful not to deplete this fund, because if you're giving money and it's not coming back, then those who want to borrow will not be able to borrow.
Okay.
Access to information. What we're doing, we now are very heavy on social media. And we are partnering with other agencies, and especially those people who are in the youth space. I was just giving you an example here of churches, mosques, youth leaders on the ground. For instance, you've seen right now, even the ministry, our parent ministry, has advertised young people who want to be involved in elections for the National Youth Council. Because we're going to have delegates, of the National Youth Council, and those are youth leaders from the village level coming up to the national level. And so because those are youth leaders elected by young people, these are people we're going to put a responsibility on to try and reach out to the other young people, mashinani, so that they are able to disseminate information, not just on the Youth Enterprise Fund, but on any opportunity that can be able to help young people be able to improve their lives.
Okay.
Yes.
Alafu, in terms of incentives, you know how hard the business environment is. The best example people usually give, yes, is kuanza biashara ya maji. You need like 800,000 to start. Yes, inaweza kuwa na returns, but it's not for everybody. Taxation, licenses, and everything. Is Youth Fund in a position to lobby for a good business environment for the youth and the businesses they start with the support of the Youth Fund in terms of pressure kutoka kwa government, in terms of what they need to even run a business?
Youth Fund is part of government. So from the feedback we receive from our clients, there are channels through which we pass that to the relevant ministries. And even when those relevant ministries are making policies, they advertise in the newspaper and they say, we are drafting this policy, even Parliament, when they are making a new policy, and they ask for public participation. And in such events, we also give our input. And we say that young people who are in business are also complaining about the following issues.
Yes.
And so when all those issues are put together, of course, I know something will happen. Then you also talked about maybe somebody starting a business, having large requirements. There's one thing I always advise young people. If you want to be where Nation Media Group is, if you want to start a media house, Nation Media House did not start where it is now. Nation Media House started as a small outfit. Over time, it has grown. The same case with the other media houses. Now, if you look at a company like Safaricom, just a few years ago, Safaricom was a small outfit. You see, if you look at the big companies in this country, some of them say, I'll give you an example of Equity Bank. Equity Bank started in a shop somewhere in Moranga. You know those village shops?
Yes.
That's where Equity Bank started. See what it is today. So what I want to advise our young people, the most important thing is to have your vision and to have your dream. But you can start anywhere. Start where you're able to start. When you have 5,000 shillings in your hands, there's a lot you can do with those 5,000 shillings. Don't wait to get 1,000,000 shillings to start a business.
Okay.
Because he who is trusted with little can be trusted with much. If you can't do something with little, you will not do something with a lot of money. Tumeelewana hiyo?
Hapo tuko sawa kabisa. Na kwa challenges kuna moja maybe uja respond. Ulisema mtu akikutana na challenges, you don't give up. Is rudeness from some of the staff part of the challenges the youth have to overcome so that you can get to the money? If you get past ule jamaa mwenye amekujibu vibaya hapo, ule jamaa amekutreat vibaya kwa youth fund offices, that umepita stage 3 ya kupata pesa.
No, if I heard that a member of our staff was rude to our clients,
yes,
I would also be very rude to that person.
Oh, so you also use rudeness partially. But they are disciplined.
Now, what we do is that we have a dedicated email address for complaints.
Yes.
Complaints@youthfund.go.ke. You can also use our social media platforms. We are on Facebook, we are on Twitter, we are on Instagram, we are on YouTube, all these social media platforms.
Yes.
And what we usually encourage our clients is, if you have had a bad experience, maybe your loan has delayed, maybe somebody has been unkind to you, probably somebody rushed you when they were giving you information,
yes,
or they did not give you adequate attention, feel free to complain on those platforms. And once you complain, at times you may not know a person's name, but you can say that on this date, I was in your office in Maralal, and I met a gentleman or a lady who served me in the following manner that was unbecoming of them. With that information, we are able to establish who the officer is, and we'll take appropriate measures. And appropriate measures does not necessarily mean sacking a person. It may need retraining that person. It may need retraining that person. Because, you see, by so doing, you are helping us identify the gaps that are within our staff.
Sawa sawa. Yes. What's the interest rate on youth fund loans?
Now, the group loans have no interest.
Zero.
Whatsoever. Zero.
Unarudisha pesa ulichukua.
Unarudisha ile pesa ulichukua.
Okay.
The only thing we charge is a 5% management fee, which is one off. Na hiyo tunakata kwa ile loan. Si ati tunakuambia toa kwa mfuko yako ulete.
Yes.
The only loans that we charge interest are the business expansion loans. And the business expansion loans here, we have the loan I talked about here, that if you're in business, you can borrow from 100,000 to 5 million to expand your business. There's asset financing. We can finance you to buy an asset for your business, like a lorry or a pickup or a machine. There's what we call agribusiness loans. Agribusiness loans are for young people who are in agribusiness, and they want huge sums of money and they don't want to take the group loans. Then we have Talanta loans for the young people who are in the creative arts. Then we have LPO loans for people who get tenders in government and want money to be able to service those tenders. Now, all these loans that are not group loans are the only ones that have an interest of 6%.
That's good. Per annum?
Yes, per annum.
That is good.
Hiyo loan nyingine yote ya group ambayo nilisema unaweza pata from 100,000 and graduate to 1 million.
Yes.
Hiyo haina interest hata kidogo.
That is very good.
And that loan is very good for building people. We have seen people we have built, they came as a group, they started, somebody was able to build their own individual capacity, and they have done big things. For business expansion loans, kuna wengine wamekuja, like I'll give you an example. There's a hospital called Roy Family Hospital.
Yes.
You know the Roy Family Hospital?
I've heard of it.
It's owned by a young doctor, Dr. Maxwell Okoth. Dr. Maxwell Okoth came to us, and he borrowed 1.8 million because he had just started a small clinic to try and buy some basic equipment, so that customers could trust him. And see where he is today. And that's why I was saying we don't have to start very big. Start small, and with time, with patience, with man hours putting into your business, you will get eventually where you want to get to.
Okay, sawa sawa. This is a very attractive and very competitive interest rate. Ni poa sana.
Yes.
Then you are also aware, in ya mwisho before tukuachilie uende, you are also
Sina
aware
haraka mimi.
Sawa. Due to CB hao watu wengine pia time. So the youth, you are aware that they've been victims of predatory lending, predatory, whichever, lending from mobile apps, right? Why hasn't Youth Fund, in the interest of the youth, come up with a product that can be accessed on phone at competitive rates, na vile watu wanalipanga hizo zenye za, kuna zingine ziko na interest rate ya 1 million%, hiyo yenye wanalipanga, right? Why hasn't Youth Fund come up with a product that kwa hizo vitu ndogo ndogo zenye wanaweza fanya, they can access funds on such platforms?
Very good question. Now we are working on something we are calling ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning. It's an entire IT system.
Yes.
And that, when we have that entire IT system, we are like 90% complete now. Once it is complete, young people will be able to apply for loans from their phones. That means instead of you coming to our office, you're able to apply from where you are. Only our officer may need to visit you to verify some information. Okay. Then the other thing is that it will have something called a mobile app. That mobile app is what will enable you to apply for loans online. And once we have that mobile app, we should be able to give those mobile loans.
Hizo za simu.
Yes, hizo za simu.
Inaweza ama iwezi? Inaweza ama iwezi?
But then we have to put also mechanisms in place to ensure again that young people are not borrowing for the sake of borrowing. In fact, yes, one of the reasons why you're calling them predators, you know, those guys don't force you to take the loan.
Yes.
It is you who chooses to take the loan. And this is why we take it as a very important step, training young people even before we give them loans. Because you need to understand why you're borrowing. Why are you borrowing in the first place? What do you want to do with that money? How much money are you likely to generate now that you have borrowed? What is your repayment plan? All these things are important. You know, at times we want to borrow for short-term things. Maybe nimeitwa bash mahali, sina pesa, mimi naingia kwa simu,
yes,
ka 20,000 inaingia kwa simu.
Yes.
One night, I have nothing else to show for the money that I borrowed.
Okay.
Pesa imeenda kwa raha, kwa starehe. I buy an expensive phone. Then from next week, I'm required to pay. Where do I pay from? And I borrowed money and consumed.
Okay.
You all should only borrow to produce.
Should only borrow to produce.
Don't borrow to consume. Unless, you know, you're in very dire circumstances where you borrow money to buy food. But don't borrow money to go and finance pleasure.
Okay.
To go and finance adventures.
Okay.
Yes.
Kitu moja ni, I know we may not have enough time kwa sababu tunaweza piga story mpaka kesho. But before hata tukuachilie uende, I wish tungeanza hii kitu mapema, but then
sina haraka.
Basi sasa watu wetu wako na haraka. Hiyo ndio tunatukatizia time. Hiyo ndio tunatukatizia time. But hiyo before tukuachilie uende, if Youth Fund is such a good idea, right? Hizi vitu zote unasema hapa ni vitu za kucelebratiwa. From what hiyo siku mta launch mobile money lending na yenye si predatory na mtajua itasaidia watu. And when you can get as many people as possible with the training and the information you have. Hata wewe ukiorganize 2 session ukae na wasee uongee na watu hata for 1 hour, I believe the mentality and mindset would change.
Yes.
How can we replicate that as much as possible? If there's lobbying that is needed, maybe serikali pump something small ya kutop up, not something small, something good. Hata ile yenye will be daily kia kwa Youth Fund, hiyo 2 billion inamaanisha tunaweza ona results as far as the youth empowerment is concerned. Kweli uongo?
First of all, mimi siko aware kuna pesa naibiwa.
Basi uonangi news. The president
then maybe we engage in government, and you see, for instance, 3 years ago we were giving 320 million in a year. 2 years ago we were giving 470 million per year. The year that is just ended in June, we've given 580 million.
Okay.
So this year that we are in right now, we are targeting to give 730 million. And we are hoping that, you see, even as we go gaining ground, we are also engaging government to allocate us more resources so that we are able to meet demand.
Okay.
So we are engaging government. I also wanted to mention that about the mobile app, that once that mobile app is complete, we will have a lot of young people registering, giving us their data. We will use that mobile app to be able to educate young people. So that we were talking about doing 90,000 youth only in a year. Once we have that mobile app and we are able to use it to pass, to sensitize and educate our young people, we will be doing 300,000, 500,000 young people in a year.
Okay.
And of course, we'll also be able to engage with other people who can also ride on the same platform to add value to whatever information we are giving to our young people.
Sawa sawa. No, now that umesema there is an increase in the funds that you will be disbursing as far as loans are concerned.
Yes.
Tumeagree that mtu yote akona hizo requirements zenye zimesemekana. I like that you explained why the requirements are needed. Pesa si ya kupeana hivyo. Mtu yote atakuwa na hizo requirements. Akikuja in good time, they will get the money.
They will get the money. They will get the money. If you meet the requirements, and then also we look at your business proposal,
yes,
or your business idea, and we see that it can absorb the money, fine, we'll get the money. Okay. Because there are people who will also come with the requirements, but then when you look at probably what they want the money for, and I'll give you an example very quickly. A young man came to me, and he told me he has invented some light that he wants to manufacture and sell. And so I asked him, how much money do you need? He told me he needed 4 million. So I asked him to give me a breakdown of what he wanted to do with the money. One of the things he wanted to do was to take a whole floor office in town. So I was asking him, what do you do with the entire floor? I want to set up an office. I told him, you can't set an office before you even sure whether you're selling. So I asked him, how much money do you have in your account? He told me he had 28,000 shillings. How much does it cost you to make one light? He told me it cost him 135 shillings. So we did a simple calculation with him. How many lights can you make with that money? And there were so many. So I asked him, how do you sell? He told me there's a Muthendi shop somewhere. He takes those lights and they are bought. I told him, what you need to do, make as many lights as your 28,000 can make. Take to the Muthendi. Now, if there is such a huge demand that you can't meet the demand, come to us. We'll give you more money to meet that demand.
Okay.
See, but you see now he wants 4 million for something he has not even started producing at large scale.
Yes, yes, yes.
I wanted to come back to the same point that you may meet the requirements, but do you actually need the money?
So,
yes.
But you've also said that Youth Fund also offers opportunities for free to learn about business, record keeping,
yes,
for free.
In fact, we also do a lot of webinars, so that if you are not able to come where we are, you're able to log in from your house, and we train you. We are in the office, you are in your house, and we train you at the comfort. Ukisipi kachai pale, unasikiza masomo
na biashara.
Yeah.
Wapi makofi ya